Welcome to Daily Global Motivation, the place where self-discipline is rebuilt from the inside out, where excuses lose their grip, and where habits stop controlling your future and start serving your highest potential. Today's message is about how to break bad habits and replace them with powerful ones, not through force, guilt, or extreme willpower, but through awareness, structure, and a deep understanding of how habits actually shape your identity over time. Bad habits do not ruin lives overnight, they erode them quietly through repetition, while powerful habits rebuild lives slowly through intentional daily choices that often go unnoticed until transformation is undeniable. If you have ever felt trapped in patterns you promised yourself you would stop, frustrated by cycles of discipline followed by relapse, or disappointed that motivation fades faster than habits disappear, this message is for you, because the problem is not your character, it is your strategy. Breaking habits is not about becoming someone else overnight, but about redesigning the systems that quietly run your behavior every day. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share this message with someone who is ready to stop fighting themselves and start building habits that actually last. Because what follows will change how you see self-discipline forever. Breaking bad habits begins with understanding that habits are not moral failures or signs of weakness, but deeply ingrained behavioral patterns formed through repetition, emotional reinforcement, and environmental cues that operate largely outside conscious awareness. Many people struggle because they attack habits with shame and force rather than insight and structure, which only strengthens the habit loop by increasing stress and emotional discomfort. When stress rises, the brain seeks relief, and bad habits often provide fast, familiar comfort, even when they cause long-term damage. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle where guilt fuels stress, stress fuels the habit, and the habit fuels more guilt. Awareness interrupts this cycle. Interruption creates choice. Choice restores control, and control is the foundation of real self-discipline. Bad habits are powerful because they are efficient, requiring little mental effort while delivering predictable emotional rewards, even if those rewards are short-lived or destructive. The brain prioritizes efficiency over wisdom, meaning it will always favor habits that conserve energy and reduce discomfort unless given a compelling alternative. This is why willpower alone rarely works, because willpower is expensive, limited, and easily depleted under pressure. When you rely solely on willpower, you are fighting your own neurological wiring instead of working with it. Understanding this removes self-blame and replaces it with strategy, because you stop asking why you are weak and start asking how the habit is being reinforced. Insight weakens attachment. Weakened attachment reduces automatic behavior. Reduced automatic behavior opens space for change.
Another reason bad habits persist is because they are often tied to emotional regulation rather than pleasure alone, meaning they help you cope with boredom, anxiety, loneliness, stress, or self-doubt in ways that feel relieving in the moment. When life feels overwhelming, the brain reaches for familiar patterns that promise escape or comfort, even if they create long-term consequences. This is why breaking habits requires addressing the emotional need beneath the behavior.
Not just removing the behavior itself. When the underlying need is ignored, the habit either returns or is replaced by another equally destructive pattern. Addressing the need creates stability. Stability reduces urgency. Reduced urgency weakens compulsive behavior, and weakened compulsion allows discipline to take root. Bad habits also survive because they are often embedded in environments that quietly support them, making relapse easy even after strong intentions. Cues such as time of day, location, devices, people, or emotional states can automatically trigger behavior without conscious decision. When these cues remain unchanged, the habit remains primed, waiting for a moment of fatigue or stress to resurface. This is why environment often matters more than motivation, because behavior follows cues far more reliably than intentions. Changing cues disrupts patterns. Disrupted patterns create friction. Friction slows behavior. Slowed behavior creates awareness. Awareness enables choice. Ultimately, breaking bad habits requires shifting from self-judgment to self-mastery, because habits are not enemies to destroy, but systems to redesign. When you understand how habits function, you stop fighting yourself and start building conditions where better choices become easier and worse choices lose their appeal. This understanding sets the foundation for lasting change, because once you see habits clearly, you realize that discipline is not about constant resistance, but about intelligent replacement. And with that foundation in place, transformation stops feeling impossible and starts feeling inevitable. Breaking bad habits becomes far more achievable when you stop focusing only on the behavior itself and start identifying the triggers that quietly activate it. Because habits do not appear randomly, they are almost always preceded by specific internal or external cues that signal the brain to act automatically. These triggers can be emotional states, such as stress, boredom, or loneliness. Physical states like fatigue or hunger, or environmental cues like certain locations, times of day, or digital environments that condition behavior without conscious thought. When triggers go unnoticed, habits feel uncontrollable, but when they are identified, they lose much of their power, because awareness introduces choice into what was once automatic. Awareness slows reaction. Slower reaction creates space. Space allows redirection. Redirection restores control, and restored control is the first real step toward breaking any habit. Many people attempt to eliminate bad habits without realizing that the habit is serving a function, often providing relief, distraction, or emotional regulation in moments when the nervous system feels overwhelmed. When this function is ignored, the brain will resist change because it believes the habit is necessary for survival or comfort. Identifying triggers reveals the function beneath the behavior, showing you what the habit is trying to solve rather than simply what it looks like on the surface. This understanding transforms frustration into curiosity, allowing you to ask what need is being met instead of why you lack discipline. Curiosity reduces judgment. Reduced judgment lowers stress. Lower stress weakens compulsion, and weakened compulsion makes space for healthier alternatives to emerge. Triggers also become powerful because they repeat consistently, training the brain to associate certain moments with automatic responses that feel inevitable over time. When you wake up, feel overwhelmed, or experience a dip in energy, your mind may automatically reach for a familiar habit that promises relief without requiring thought. This repetition strengthens neural pathways, making the habit feel like part of your identity rather than a choice. But identity-based habits can be rewritten when you interrupt the trigger response. Loop consciously and consistently. Interruption creates disruption. Disruption breaks momentum. Broken momentum weakens habit strength. Weakened habit strength increases flexibility, and flexibility allows new behaviors to take root. Understanding triggers also allows you to predict moments of vulnerability rather than being surprised by them, which is critical for maintaining self-discipline under pressure. When you know when and where a habit is most likely to appear, you can prepare intentional responses ahead of time instead of relying on willpower in the moment. Preparation reduces emotional overload. Reduced overload improves decision-making. Better decisions strengthen self-trust. Self-trust reinforces discipline. Over time, this proactive approach transforms self-discipline from reactive resistance into strategic self-leadership. Ultimately, identifying the triggers that keep bad habits alive shifts the battle from constant self-control to intelligent awareness. Because once you see the pattern clearly, you no longer feel powerless against it. Triggers lose their invisibility. Invisible forces lose their influence. And when influence is reduced, choice becomes possible again. This clarity lays the groundwork for replacing bad habits with powerful ones, because you now understand not only what must change, but when and why change is needed. Breaking bad habits requires learning how to interrupt the habit loop intelligently rather than trying to overpower it with force. Because force creates resistance, and resistance strengthens the very patterns you are trying to eliminate. Many people attempt to quit habits by relying on strict rules, punishment, or extreme self-control, only to find themselves relapsing harder once stress, fatigue, or emotion overwhelms their discipline. This happens because habits operate automatically through a loop of trigger, behavior, and reward, and attacking the behavior alone leaves the trigger and reward untouched. When the loop remains intact, the brain simply waits for a moment of weakness to reassert the habit. Interrupting the loop gently but consistently is far more effective than fighting it aggressively. Interruption creates awareness. Awareness slows reaction. Slower reaction restores choice. Choice allows redirection. And redirection is how habits begin to lose their grip. One of the most effective ways to interrupt a habit loop is by inserting a pause between the trigger and the behavior, because even a brief moment of awareness can weaken automatic responses that feel unstoppable. This pause does not require judgment or resistance, only observation, allowing you to notice the urge without immediately acting on it. When you observe an urge instead of obeying it, you begin separating identity from impulse, realizing that you are not the habit, but the one experiencing the urge. This separation is powerful because habits rely on identification to survive. When identity loosens, compulsion weakens. Weakened compulsion increases flexibility. Flexibility creates space for alternative responses, and alternative responses are the gateway to building powerful new habits. Interrupting habits also becomes easier when you lower the stakes of resistance, because trying to eliminate a habit entirely in one moment often creates pressure that triggers relapse. Instead of demanding perfection, you focus on delaying, reducing, or slightly altering the habitual response. Delay weakens immediacy. Reduced immediacy lowers urgency. Lower urgency decreases emotional intensity. Decreased intensity makes conscious choice easier. Over time, these small interruptions accumulate, slowly retraining the brain to tolerate urges without acting on them. This gradual retraining is more sustainable than sudden suppression because it respects how the nervous system adapts to change. Another key aspect of interrupting the habit loop is changing the context in which the habit usually occurs, because habits thrive in predictable environments that reinforce automatic behavior. By altering your surroundings, timing, or routine slightly, you disrupt the cues that signal the brain to act without thought. Even small environmental changes can break the automatic sequence long enough for awareness to step in. Environmental disruption creates friction. Friction slows behavior. Slowed behavior increases consciousness. Consciousness restores control, and restored control weakens the habit loop with every repeated interruption. Ultimately, interrupting bad habits without force teaches your brain that urges are temporary signals, not commands, and that discomfort does not require immediate relief through familiar behaviors. This lesson builds self-discipline from the inside out, because discipline becomes the ability to stay present with discomfort rather than escape it automatically. As interruptions accumulate, the habit loses reliability, emotional power, and identity attachment. And once a habit is no longer reliable, it becomes replaceable, setting the stage for powerful new habits to take its place with far less resistance than you ever expected. Breaking bad habits permanently requires understanding that removal alone creates a vacuum, and vacuums are always filled, often by the same habit returning stronger or by another equally destructive behavior taking its place if no intentional replacement is designed. Habits exist because they meet a need, whether that need is comfort, stimulation, control, escape, or emotional regulation, and the brain will resist losing a habit if it believes the need will remain unmet. Replacing a bad habit with a powerful one means satisfying the same underlying need in a healthier, more sustainable way, rather than pretending the need does not exist. This approach aligns with how the brain actually works, because it preserves emotional balance while redirecting behavior. Preservation reduces resistance. Reduced resistance increases adoption. Increased adoption strengthens consistency. Consistency builds identity. And identity is what makes powerful habits last. Powerful habits succeed when they are designed to be realistic, accessible, and emotionally rewarding, because the brain will always choose what feels achievable in moments of stress rather than what feels ideal in moments of clarity. If a replacement habit is too demanding, too time-consuming, or too disconnected from the original reward, it will not survive real-life pressure. Simplicity lowers friction. Lower friction increases repetition. Repetition strengthens neural pathways. Stronger pathways make the new habit easier to access than the old one. Over time, the brain begins defaulting to the new behavior because it delivers relief or satisfaction, without the negative consequences. This transition feels natural rather than forced, which is why replacement is more effective than suppression. Replacing habits also becomes more effective when the new behavior is anchored to the same trigger as the old one, because triggers do not disappear simply because behavior changes. When the same trigger activates a healthier response, the habit loop is preserved but upgraded, allowing the brain to adapt without feeling deprived. This continuity is critical, because it reduces cognitive effort and emotional resistance during change. Familiarity creates safety. Safety reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety weakens compulsion. Weakened compulsion allows new habits to stabilize. Over time, the trigger no longer feels like a threat, because it now leads to a behavior that supports rather than sabotages your well-being. Another essential element of replacement is emotional honesty, because powerful habits must address how you actually feel in the moment rather than how you wish you felt. If a habit exists to cope with exhaustion, stress, or loneliness, the replacement must acknowledge and respond to that state realistically. Emotional honesty prevents self-sabotage. Prevented sabotage preserves trust. Preserved trust strengthens discipline. Discipline sustains consistency. And consistency is what allows new habits to grow strong enough to replace old ones permanently. When your replacement habits respect your emotional reality, they stop feeling like punishment and start feeling supportive. Ultimately, replacing bad habits with powerful ones is about upgrading your systems rather than fighting your instincts, because lasting self-discipline is built through alignment, not constant resistance. When new habits meet the same needs in healthier ways, the old habits lose their emotional relevance and gradually fade without dramatic struggle. This process may feel subtle, but it is deeply transformative, because once the brain no longer depends on a habit for relief or regulation, it releases it naturally. And when habits are replaced intelligently rather than removed aggressively, self-discipline becomes sustainable, empowering, and rooted in self-understanding rather than self-control alone. Breaking bad habits and replacing them with powerful ones becomes dramatically easier when you stop treating discipline as a test of character and start treating it as a design problem. Because behavior is shaped far more by environment and structure than by intention alone. Many people fail not because they lack desire to change, but because they keep placing themselves in environments that constantly trigger old habits while expecting different outcomes through sheer willpower. When your surroundings remain unchanged, your brain receives the same cues and responds with the same behaviors, no matter how strong your motivation feels in the moment. Changing your environment reduces the number of decisions you must make, and fewer decisions mean fewer chances for relapse. Reduced choice lowers fatigue. Lower fatigue preserves clarity. Preserved clarity strengthens follow-through, and follow-through is what allows powerful habits to take root consistently. Your environment silently communicates what is normal, easy, and expected, shaping your actions long before conscious discipline has a chance to intervene. If bad habits are convenient and powerful habits are inconvenient, your brain will default to convenience under pressure every time. By reversing this dynamic and making powerful habits easier to access while adding friction to bad habits, you shift behavior without relying on constant self-control. Friction slows unwanted behavior. Slowed behavior increases awareness. Awareness restores choice. Choice enables redirection. And redirection repeated daily rewires automatic patterns that once felt impossible to change. Structure also plays a critical role, because unstructured time creates openings for old habits to reappear, especially during moments of boredom, stress, or fatigue. When your day lacks intentional anchors, the brain seeks stimulation or relief wherever it can find it, often returning to familiar habits that promise quick comfort. Structure provides predictable rhythms that reduce uncertainty and emotional overload, making it easier to stay aligned with new behaviors. Predictability creates safety. Safety reduces impulsivity. Reduced impulsivity strengthens discipline. Discipline reinforces identity. And identity-driven behavior is far more stable than behavior driven by motivation alone. Another powerful aspect of environmental design is removing exposure rather than testing resistance, because repeated exposure to temptation drains mental energy even if you do not act on it. Constant resistance creates fatigue, and fatigue lowers your ability to make aligned choices later in the day. By removing cues, access, or triggers entirely, you conserve energy for growth rather than wasting it on restraint. Conserved energy supports consistency. Consistency strengthens habits. Strong habits reduce reliance on discipline. Reduced reliance makes change sustainable. Over time, powerful habits begin to feel natural, not because you are stronger, but because your environment no longer pulls you backward. Ultimately, using environment and structure to support habit change shifts self-discipline from a daily battle into a supportive system that works even when you are tired, stressed, or distracted. When your surroundings are aligned with your goals, good habits require less effort and bad habits lose their grip without dramatic struggle. This alignment allows you to move forward steadily instead of constantly recovering from relapse. And when your environment works in your favor, breaking bad habits and building powerful ones stops feeling like a fight against yourself and starts feeling like a natural evolution of how you live. Breaking bad habits and replacing them with powerful ones becomes sustainable only when self-discipline is rooted in identity rather than willpower, because willpower is temporary and fragile, while identity-driven behavior is stable, automatic, and deeply self-reinforcing. When you rely on willpower alone, every moment becomes a test, and tests eventually exhaust even the strongest intentions, especially under stress, fatigue, or emotional pressure. Identity works differently, because when you see yourself as someone who lives with discipline, clarity, and intention, your actions naturally align with that self-image without constant internal negotiation. This alignment reduces friction. Reduced friction increases consistency. Consistency strengthens habits. Habits reinforce identity. And this loop is what makes powerful habits last without requiring constant effort. Identity-based discipline grows when you stop asking what you should do and start asking who you are becoming, because actions repeated daily quietly shape your self-concept whether you notice it or not. Every time you resist a bad habit or choose a healthier alternative, you cast a vote for a new identity, even if the action feels small or insignificant in the moment. These votes accumulate over time, gradually shifting how you see yourself and what you believe is normal behavior for you. When identity shifts, discipline stops feeling like self-control and starts feeling like self-respect. And self-respect strengthens commitment. Commitment stabilizes consistency. Consistency compounds change, and compounded change reshapes behavior at a level deeper than motivation ever could. Another powerful element of identity-based self-discipline is that it removes the emotional drama from setbacks. Because mistakes no longer define you, they simply become feedback on your current systems. When identity is fragile, setbacks feel personal and discouraging, often triggering relapse through shame or self-criticism. When identity is grounded, setbacks are viewed as temporary misalignments rather than failures, making it easier to return without guilt. Quick return preserves momentum. Preserved momentum reinforces confidence. Confidence reduces avoidance. Reduced avoidance strengthens resilience. And resilience is essential for breaking habits that were built over years of repetition. Identity also strengthens discipline by narrowing your choices, because when you know who you are becoming, many options simply stop being relevant. This reduction in choice simplifies decision-making, conserving mental energy that would otherwise be spent negotiating with temptation. Simpler decisions reduce fatigue. Reduced fatigue preserves clarity. Preserved clarity strengthens focus. Focus supports intentional action, and intentional action repeated daily is what builds powerful habits that feel natural rather than forced. Over time, discipline becomes less about resisting temptation and more about living in alignment with your values and self. Ultimately, strengthening self-discipline through identity transforms habit change from a constant struggle into a process of becoming, because you are no longer trying to control yourself, but choosing to act in ways that reflect who you believe you are. When discipline is rooted in identity, bad habits lose their emotional grip, powerful habits gain momentum, and change becomes self-sustaining rather than exhausting. And once your identity supports your behavior, breaking bad habits and replacing them with powerful ones becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Because you are no longer fighting yourself, you are evolving yourself. The final stage of breaking bad habits and replacing them with powerful ones is understanding that true transformation does not arrive through dramatic moments of victory, but through the quiet accumulation of disciplined choices repeated daily until they become the new normal that shapes your life without conscious effort. Most people underestimate how profoundly their future is influenced by what they repeatedly do in ordinary moments, especially when no one is watching and no immediate reward is visible. When powerful habits begin to compound, they slowly but relentlessly reshape your mindset, your energy, your confidence, and your standards, making old behaviors feel increasingly misaligned rather than tempting. This shift does not happen overnight, but once it begins, it accelerates naturally because behavior aligned with identity requires less resistance. Reduced resistance preserves energy. Preserved energy strengthens consistency. Consistency compounds results, and compounded results quietly redefine what you believe is possible for yourself. Allowing powerful habits to redefine your future also requires patience, because habits built over years do not dissolve instantly. And expecting immediate perfection creates pressure that often leads to relapse. Patience creates emotional stability. Emotional stability supports clarity. Clarity strengthens discipline. Discipline sustains repetition. Repetition rewires behavior. When you accept that growth unfolds gradually, you remove the urgency that sabotages long-term change and replace it with steady commitment that survives real-life challenges. This patience is not passive, but intentional, because every small aligned action reinforces your decision to live differently, even when progress feels slow. Over time, the consistency you maintain becomes more important than the intensity you occasionally display. Powerful habits also reshape how you experience yourself, because repeated self-discipline builds trust, and trust in yourself becomes one of the most powerful psychological assets you can possess. When you trust yourself to follow through, even in small ways, confidence stops depending on motivation or circumstances and starts being grounded in evidence. Evidence-based confidence reduces self-doubt. Reduced self-doubt strengthens courage. Courage supports continued growth. Growth reinforces identity. Identity stabilizes behavior. This cycle is what allows transformation to last, because it is rooted in who you are becoming rather than what you are trying to force yourself to do. Another critical realization at this stage is that powerful habits do not eliminate struggle, but they change how you respond to it, because discipline teaches you to move forward even when conditions are imperfect. Old habits often resurface during stress, fatigue, or emotional discomfort. But when powerful habits are established, they provide structure and stability during these moments rather than collapse. Stability reduces emotional chaos. Reduced chaos improves focus. Focus supports intentional action. Intentional action preserves momentum, and momentum ensures that setbacks remain temporary instead of becoming permanent derailments. Ultimately, breaking bad habits and replacing them with powerful ones is not about becoming flawless, but about becoming consistent, self-aware, and committed to growth that respects both your ambition and your humanity. When your habits align with your values, your environment supports your discipline, and your identity reinforces your behavior, self-discipline stops feeling like a constant battle and starts feeling like a natural expression of who you are. And when habits work with you rather than against you, transformation becomes sustainable, empowering, and inevitable. If this message helped you understand self-discipline in a deeper, more realistic way, make sure you subscribe to Daily Global Motivation, where we share powerful content designed to help you build habits, clarity, and inner strength without burnout or self-judgment. Like this video if it resonated with you. Comment below with one bad habit you are committed to replacing and the powerful habit you will build instead. And share this with someone who feels stuck in cycles they are ready to break. Remember, your habits are not just what you do. They are who you become, and every disciplined choice you make today is shaping the future version of you that you will live as tomorrow.